So you are all magical beings. Am I alive? All right. And I'm hoping to show you how that all works and how that's going to work for you. So the first question being, what is magic? Simply, back in the earliest times, once upon a time, magic was the synthesis of all art, science, and religion. It was everything. It was just the nature of the consciousness that was able to affect the world. Now, Webster's dictionary will tell you that magic is the use of means such as charms or spells believed to have supernatural power over natural forces, or even an extraordinary power or influencing, seemingly from a supernatural force. So this is more of the idea of setting up magic where you're trying to invoke your will into the situation instead of allowing the universe to open the possibilities for you. You see, primitive man, they understood magic before they knew the word magic or even words themselves. And they would depict things on their walls. Now this one, I'm not exactly sure what they were trying to come up with, but we really. But we find that you have to use your imagination, and this is the greatest power of mankind. So within magic, you have to use both the imagination and the will co-equally in the work. Now, the imagination must precede the will in order for the greatest possible effect. So you're sitting back, you're dreaming what I want, where you want to be, or even just that you want things to be better. Because as you're going to learn throughout this talk, we don't know what we need. We're lost, and we are being guided down the wrong path. So as our imagination, we need to get back to that place where we can start to really use this to be able to direct our will and therefore then manifest into the real world. Now, the cave people would actually depict what they wanted to happen, not what had happened. But they wanted to go out and have many deer show up and much food to show up, and they wanted their arrows to go straight. So before they would go out on the hunt, they would create the painting depicting what they could do. And this is one of the most special abilities of humankind, is that we can see what's not there and manifest it. We have that ability. And this is why they were so attracted to their hands, because this was the magic power that we had, this ability to take what was in our mind and transform it into reality using these magical instruments. They were so fascinated by their hands and by what was going and coming from what in their consciousness that they wanted to leave it there for all time. So who is the magician? All right, so a magician would go out and dress himself in full vestments, making sure he has all the different attributes that he needs in order to create the sensation that he's after. So you want to control the smells, you want to control what you're wearing. A magician would even go to the point of crafting his own tools to make his other tools. So to like make his magic wand and such, he would craft a knife first, so that every aspect of what he had generated was actually manifested from his own human power. All right, so when we start to look to the definition of magic, it's simply from Crowley, when we go to the OTO, magic is the science and art of causing change to occur in conformity with the will. Now that's, it's something, but basically that's just saying that any work of art is a work of magic. So anything that man creates, anything that anything creates is actually a work of magic, a work of art. It has come out of your mind and now manifested into the real world. But to really understand magic, you look at the most current definition of magic, and it's the same, that magic is the art, science and art of causing change. But it's change in consciousness that makes all the difference. So change in consciousness is what is going to manifest into the real world without you even realizing what you are trying to manifest. So when we look to the magicians of Crowley's time, and we find that these were magicians that wanted to affect change on the world from their own personal ego and will. And they had a definitive answer as to what they wanted to occur from their magic, be it black magic, white magic, gray magic, whatever. They had a definitive thing that they had consciously come up with. Now, what we're going to start to learn throughout this presentation is that our consciousness is always manifesting out into the realities. and that it is our knowledge and our attitudes towards this, our consciousness, that will affect the world in a way that we don't expect, in a way that we have never thought of, in a way that is divine. So who is the magician? It's you. It's all of you. You have all been out there gathering all of this knowledge. You've been spending your hours hiding away either at your jobs or in your homes, listening to podcasts, watching alternative media, and everything is changing in your consciousness. You have no idea what you're about to manifest. But look at all of you. You are out there, and you are learning all of this. Whether or not you actually go and stand before the Congress or any of this nature to try and make a change, you already are simply by learning, by becoming conscious of these things. You don't actually have to go out and make a material effort to change things. You already are. So good for you, bully for all of you. Yeah. So as we look to this puzzle and we start to try to understand, how it is that we can change the world without actually knowing what we're doing, without laying out some Jacques Fresco Venus Project or something, and we're able to actually bring about a world that we all see in our hearts. I mean, every one of us knows that there's something wrong. And if we didn't know that something could be right, then we'd never know that it was wrong. So we have these problems. And I think Jesus was right there saying these very things, but for some reason I don't tend to see these type of phrases coming out of the modern Christianity or modern places. But Jesus put out there, "Verily I say unto you, except ye be converted and become as little children, ye shall not enter the kingdom of heaven. Whoever should humble themselves as this little child is the greatest that would be in the kingdom of heaven." So when we look to our real world situation, we see clearly that the first thing they want to destroy is the inner child. And we are seeing a war on the inner child. And we are taught to hide that inner child. We are taught that it is not professional, right? And we're trying to find our way out of this. So we go around as children, willing to wonder in the world, willing to say, I don't know, is the president a clone? And we go around preach saying, look, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. We're right here. It's happening now. And each and every one of us could live in it right now if we simply could get our minds around the idea. Because Jesus, again, said, go out, heal sick, cleanse the lepers, raise the dead, cast out devils, and freely have you received and freely give. And so he's telling us to go practice miracles, okay? So if somebody needed this to understand our situation, the fact that humanity has that power, we have the power to heal. I've been psychically healed. I've been healed by touch. I've been healed by love, and we hold all of these horrible emotions inside of us. We have 40,000 negative thoughts that go through our head every single day telling us we're not worthy. And yet we have all this power to just go and heal one another through hugs, through love, through just, even thought and all of this. And it's been with us. It's just something that we are afraid to share because that inner child has been so abused, so traumatized, that it's scared to even wonder about the world, and definitely scared of all the other humans that are actually loving, generous, caring people, but we can't see that because we've been conditioned to see others. So, Jesus goes on to say that the works that he's done, we will do greater. And I really do believe that it's our job to take up that mantle. It's not like we're sitting back waiting for some savior. We're the savior. We're it. We're the consciousness that is going to manifest into the reality. And these other people in the real world, they're not going to know what hit them. Because really, yeah, thank you. Because you come into this world a blank slate. I mean, they can tell you anything. Look at North Korea, right? The supreme leader, right? He's an Olympic champion. And so we come in this tabula rasa, blank slate, and we we are then in the hands of these sorcerers that are ready to just start imparting things into our minds. And what they know, and what they haven't really shared with humanity, is the fact that mind goes to matter. That if they can affect your consciousness, if they can program into you what they want to manifest into reality, then we are the actual program utilized to create this horrible world that we don't want to see. So there's been a large body of work that has gone on to the nature of consciousness that completely shows that thoughts are capable of affecting everything from complex machines to living animals to other humans. And we've all seen this. We've had, I'm sure all of you have had these events of synchronicities and the events of just like, how could that have happened, where we think of something and it actually just occurs before us. Well, we're finding that that's the nature of humanity, and that there are forces that know this and want to utilize our very brain waves, brain power, and our manifestation for their own selfish ends. Now, Dr. Emoto showed us that this consciousness can really affect right to a cellular level. He shows that with dark thoughts, with evil, mean thoughts, that the very molecular structure, the crystalline form of water, it becomes ugly and morphed. Whereas when you're given positives and you're being guided forward, these crystalline structures become solid, they become formidable. They become a crystalline structure that can't be broken. So all of these thoughts, this is the most critical thing. There is all this weirdness going on the planet, but it's all that's going on inside of our own dialogue that we really have to confront. We have to become that magician, become more determined into controlling our own inner thoughts and attitudes because of what we want or how we can do things. Because it's that very inner consciousness within you that is being manipulated against you. And so they come to us and they capture our imagination. They've required us to form contracts with them, to accept agreements with all of their situations and say that we're ready to, the dollar is the only way to handle any situation, that we need this economy, that we need all these jobs, that we need to use the dark side in order to get what we need. That's the most current programming, is the dark hero programming, where evil is good as long as it's being used for good. And these are the type of thoughts and thinking that lead people into cultural degradation, and they then use that against you to enslave you because you've made this bond, this contract with your master. Whether you meant to or not, you consciously feel that there is no escape without their means, without the system that's sitting there in hand and in play. And I, after a lifetime of experience, have learned that there's something much further beyond the system that we can conceive. So Terence McKenna tells us we are caged by our cultural programming. And this is so true. And culture is a mass hallucination. When you step outside the mass hallucination, you see what it's worth, and it's nothing. It's nothing. I'm a person who has been on the outside of the cultural norm, living in vehicles, wandering the streets, being home free, and you can see the stress and the horror that most people are suffering through. And believe me, I felt pity for those people I saw behind the registers and the ones that work in the jobs. And, I was like, why aren't you all like me? It really will work, I swear to you. Because the thing that happens is people think that well, we'll get to it. What's happening, though, is that we have this force of sorcerers, and they are aware of the magic they're using against us. And they want to utilize their ego, their willpower, to manifest the things that they want. They want to utilize minimum input to bring about maximum output, but in a very strict and rigid way that they have set up. And it's all based on ego. Now, ego is necessary. You can't be a home free enjoying yourself without some personality, because no one's going to want you around, right? So ego's not something, that you got to try and strip away and become some monk or something of this age, but the ego is what is guiding us through the programming, through the media streams, through all of the commercials and sitcoms and everything else. They are riding our ego. And like Mickey Mouse running the Sorcerer's Apprentice, they really know that they're going to lose control. But they want to lose control just in the way that they want to lose control. If they lost control in the way that we could manifest, then this wouldn't happen. But the way that they have guided us into this dark hero programming, into the ideas of we have to go attack our enemy, that we have to stand strong and try to, protest against this situation. That's our ego coming forward, because they've conditioned us to the idea that we have to confront the enemy face to face. And yet the enemy's here, the enemy's there, the enemy's vapor. He's nothing. He's what? The Illuminati? Whoosh. What is that, right? Who are you fighting? Who knows? I mean, we of course got the bloodlines. We've got the groups that we can point out. We've got, you guys know about the CFR, the Trilateral Commission, the CIA, the NSA, CERN. These are things that 98% of the planet have never heard of. It's like common talk to us. We're like, what, Council on Foreign Relations? Sure, they're ruling this planet without a doubt. IMF, WTO, yeah, I know all about that. No, I don't want a World Bank. And so what do? We go and stand in front of these guys, and we start going, I don't like this. These are my streets. Whose streets? Our streets. Whose streets? Right? What? And this is what democracy looks like? I've been there. I stood in front of these guys. I've yelled at them, It doesn't do any good. I watched as they took 600 people. Now, there were a bunch of people that actually officially signed up for this IMF WTO protest. And I don't know if you guys remember Seattle when there was the absolute riots over the IMF WTO, and that was all a facade. That was all a show. It was all, set up. So when they came to D.C. with the protest, I went, and luckily I was just a few feet in front of these guys because the riot squads just lined up and took 600 people away. Now, I was standing there yelling at them, screaming at them, like, what are you doing? This is, not constitutional. And they gathered all these people together. They threw them on city buses. When they ran out of city bus or the school buses, they put them on city buses, and they hauled them all the way to this horrible, hangar with all these fumes. We're talking pregnant women, 10-year-old boys, Japanese tourists, anyone that happened to be walking down the street at that very moment. And they charged them all $50 a head. They charged them with parading without a permit. It took them hours, 14 hours. They were there all night long to process every one of them one at a time, $50 a head, cha-ching, $30, 30 grand, thank you very much. Now, those were the people that actually filed the petition to say, I want to do this protest. The rest of us were okay. Yeah, so who's listening when you're going out there and yelling at these guys? The only time I ever got a reaction out of a riot squad is when I started calling widows' sons, which is a code word for Freemason. That got their attention. I did not expect that. But yeah, they knew that one. But the rest of it, they're trained to think that you're just animals. And on top of this, they're now conditioning us through all of this police violence and through the ideas that, cops are killing everybody. They're pumping that into you. They want you to know that. They want you to be angry about that. And so that you will react in an improper way. They want to affect your consciousness so that you will attack the enemy, and then they're giving you this as your enemy. What good does it do? Nothing. There's no use to it. After the protest, there were 500,000 people there to say, I'm against the IMF WTO. I don't want this World Bank or International Monetary Fund or any of it. World Trade Organization. 500,000 people gathered together in the streets of D.C., shut the whole city down. And yet, who knows? Who knows of it, right? No one. There was news, and every news picture in every newspaper was the one single shot that was showing violence in the protest. Now, I was there the entire time. There was no violence. It was a party, And that's really what these become, and that's what these becomes, is a gathering, a reunion, finally, other humans, right? I get to go talk to someone I know. So that's what a protest is good for, gathering together. But if you're trying to affect change, forget it. It's worthless. So have no fear. You are here. You're here. There's nothing you can do about it. Accept it, right? Because, as Yoda says, fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, and hate leads to suffering. And this is the truth. And we are acting so much out of fear because they are forcing us to. They are putting it in our face left and right. And it's a chore, or really a dedication to find happiness. It's actually a choice. You can choose to be happy, even in the midst of all this. You can choose to be angry, but angry is going to lead to exactly what they want. Jesus, again, says, take therefore no thought for the morrow shall take thought for things of itself. So there it is right again, right in the beginning, in biblical times, of saying that God's taking care of things. And if you're in your now and you're manifesting what you need at that moment, then that's enough. It's not that you have to go out and try to make a massive change. And that's where a lot of people get stuck, because they think, well, what can I do? And you're doing it. I'm letting you know that. You're all doing it by learning, by changing your consciousness. You don't even know you're doing it. Isn't that the easiest way? And then, of course, Einstein tells us that the most important decision is whether we believe we live in a friendly or a hostile universe. We do live in a friendly, I don't know. I live in a friendly universe. I have traveled this country and a number of other countries now, and I have just wandered around being taken care of by wonderful people like you. I mean, consider right now, any of you that I've personally hung out with, have touched in my life, and we've all hung out. Do any of you want to raise your hand or stand up? All right. And these are people, look around. These are people whose couches I've slept on, all right? Now, I'm just one guy. If I were to say, how many of you have I changed your consciousness? How many have I helped to guide you into this new way of thinking? Now look around. Okay, I'm just one guy, right? So all of you are doing that. You are. You've just not been asked to get up on stage by some alien like I was. I don't know why. I don't know if you know that story, but Freeman TV. So they keep embedding it. They keep throwing it at us. They keep telling us fear, fear, fear. And this entire thing was nothing but an act of prestidigitation, stage magic, 9/11, I mean, you can almost say it didn't happen because it was really just a movie, but a movie with live death. And they want to keep you in that state of fear. They're going to keep bringing these things up. They're going to keep, what's next? When's the next one? When is it going to happen to us again? And what we saw in the streets of Philadelphia and all over the United States was the gathering of the Occupy. And they sat there like a bunch of hobos in the middle of the city center saying, I'm against, well, what he's not. And I'm not really with this guy either. But I kind of like, well, we're all here. Hobos, yeah, we stink a little bit at this point. I'm sorry, but, it was a pointless gesture, right? It had all these people gathered together for a month or two. I don't even know how long those guys went. We went to every single Occupy in the United States just to witness this event, and we'll get to that in a bit. But think of all of these people had been in the community, had been doing like the last heads of Free Your Mind and planting gardens everywhere, taking those months and actually dedicating them to just uplifting our potential, and maybe going around just being friendly or cooking and serving food. You see, we're conditioned to think that we have to stand here and rally, and that, again, who knew about this? So when will the system crash? Everybody's like, well, it's going to crash, and why hasn't it crashed? Well, it is going to crash, right? But they're going to keep that thing lingering. The system's what's keeping all of you in check. And so as long as you think there's still a chance to keep going and maybe make a buck and keep things going, then, then I'll just keep the system going. They know that if they were to just have the system crash, that you'd all be liberated, and next thing we'd know, we're all friends. We'd have communities forming, and people would be doing everything, because the human doesn't sit still. We are creators, and that's what we do, right? So if you think the system crashed, that everybody would just suddenly become lazy slobs hanging out on their couches or, not even watching TV because it doesn't exist anymore. It's not going to happen. Humans create. Right back to that idea with the hands and the fact that we can create. Humans will never stop doing that. We have to create. So quit your job. Right? We don't need this system. It's useless, it's pointless, and it's guiding you to misery. Now, when I say quit your job, it really is an idea that I know you're going to keep working. You see, I know you could quit your job and still be super happy and doing all kinds of things with yourself, creating things and making things for other people and spending your time. And what they want to steal from you is your slack, because it's your slack that allows for all this creativity. And the pinkies, they're taking it, man. They're taking your slack. And the slack that can be described is not true slack. So don't ask me to describe slack, but they're taking it. They're taking it all from us. Now, I don't mean to keep getting biblical on you, right? But it was all there. What can I say? Because slack's the ability to effortlessly achieve your goals. Now, why did I define it? I don't know. But I can describe it, or I can define it but not describe it. But the ability to effortlessly achieve your goals. So the Bible again says, "Behold the fowls of the air, for they sow not, neither do they reap, nor gather in barns, yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you no better than them? Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They don't toil, never do they spin, and yet Solomon in all his glory wasn't as cool as one of these flowers, right? And this is the truth, is that there is abundance out there. And for some reason, somebody has convinced us that the best thing for us to do is put fences around our food, let Coca-Cola buy up all the water, Nestle take over, and we're going to have corporate golems taking over, owning everything. When it's all there. I mean, the tree plants, it grows, and we got food, and why has everybody got lawns and golf carts? I don't know. I just don't understand any of the system. And so if you were to quit your job, if we all quit our jobs, right? I mean, if you're in a dead-end job right now in an apartment, do it. You got nothing to lose. You got dead-end jobs all day long waiting for you. Right? You can go get another one, right? But this idea, this notion that everybody has to earn a living, it's a fact today that 1 in 10,000 of us can make technological breakthroughs capable of supporting all the rest. I mean, we're seeing that. And yeah, the work of the past has guided us, brought us up, given us our laptops, given us our computer networks, our interchange, and all of the things that have gone. But, the people in Japan and China, they have words for dropping dead at work, right? They're the ones building your iPhones, and they have a little iPhone community or, hovels where everybody puts together, all even jumps out of buildings to die because they can't stand their jobs anymore. And yeah, so it has now gotten to a place where we've achieved this level of technology that we can actually just move away from the drudgery of day-to-day living. But they're not going to give you that. They want you to stay in the system, stay a slave, and not think about all of this. Keep you in the Malthusian, Darwinian theories of fight and flight and the strong survive. And in this idea that you have to justify your existence. You have to say, well, I do this, so I'm good enough to live on planet Earth. And you're here, right? We accept that. We are here. So Buckminster Fuller, I mean, he's one of the smartest guys to live on this planet, and he told you right up, it's not time to go to work. It's time to go back to school. It's time to gain more knowledge in the things that had you interested, to go to your passions, and not to say that you're going to be stuck in this one occupation for the rest of your life, because we can liberate ourselves. Now, when we look at our world, walls, right? But the walls are clear. You can't tell where you're going. You can't see anything. You don't even know the walls are there. And that's what you learn as you start to follow synchronicity, is that those walls are an illusion. But they'll tell you, as long as you stay in this matrix, you get in the box and you follow the routine, and all your wishes come true. You shower in them. Come true. All right, cool. So you guys see that these walls that have been placed around us, they're all in our mind. The ideas that frighten us, the ideas of actual peaceful anarchy, frightens us, this idea. And they've made sure that that's the case, that we will be led to not. We need an overlord. We need Big Daddy to take care of us. So what if you had an endless stream of money? What if you could just have everything that you wanted? Well, we're actually at a point in time right now where that's possible. It's crazy. And I don't know if they thought this through when they gave us this power. But the idea of crowdfunding, the ideas of being able to just give a little and lift situations all over the planet, minimum input, maximum output sort of situation. So in 1999, I decided the world was too weird. They were going to cap the Great Pyramid with gold. Bill Clinton was talking about the rising sun, and the rituals were going on for Y2K, and of course the world was supposed to end and all of that. So I said, screw it. I quit my job, all right? 1999, I said, that's it, I'm done. I'm never going back, and I have not. All right, it's now 2015, and I still have not gotten a job, all right? But so to prove this to everyone, in 2012, I went on the internet and I said, hey, I want a school bus. And I want to take this school bus around the United States for 2012 and just be like Woody Harrelson and just film the meltdown. As the world ends, I want to be there. Well, 200 people got together. They sent me 25 bucks and said, here, go buy yourself a school bus. Now I had a school bus. Do you have any idea how much it costs to drive a school bus? You get 2 miles to the dollar, all right? So you just cut everything in half, and that's how many hundreds you're going to pay to get to Albuquerque, But I did it, okay? I did this to prove to all of you that it was possible, that a single guy with no job could get a 20,000-ton vehicle to roll around the United States for an entire year with no job, all right? And I did it. And I have no idea how it happened. I have no idea, where the money came or why it was coming or what was going on. But people would just give. They would share. They would want me to come and drive my big school bus to their front yard. I don't know how many of you had sat through that, and all the police that ran the school bus off every time. But we have the situation now where we are more free to be able to reach our goals without having to seek the power of Big Brother or anything. We get the power of each other. And there was something more I was going to say on the whole traveling situation, because I've been doing that since 1993. I took off in a van and I started juggling across the country. And I just kept doing that. And everything I did led me to another thing and another thing. And I never knew where I was going or what I was doing or where I was going to be. And I was so happy and so peaceful. And everything was so amazing. And things that I could have never thought of happened to me. That's our biggest problem, is that we're stuck thinking we have to come up with what the next step is. And we don't. I mean, I didn't ask to come up here. I didn't ask to be on television or be in a podcast. I never thought of it. You know, it was just suggested, and hey, what do you think? You want to do a TV show? All right, let's see what happens, all right? And here I am, now 10 years later, right? But so we saw into the crowdfunding situation. I think this is really a big key for all of us. I mean, 500 people start kicking in on each other, and it really, not much effort goes. But we tried this, and we produced our book, Weird Stuff, and we did it on Kickstarter. And I went on the radio every day of the month. I broadcast. I went on all these different shows. I went to, all the different social networking, like, come on, chip in on my Kickstarter here. And I managed to get 145 people involved, and they pledged to us $13,455. Now, no one really felt hurt by this. No one really, they gave $5, whatever. They weren't worried, and we were giving them stuff in return for the money. But it was very difficult to get 145 people to chip in, and we almost didn't make it, because with Kickstarter, you got to make your goal or you don't get anything. Indiegogo, for any of you guys thinking about this, Indiegogo will just give you what you get, so it's a little better. But if you just aim low and go high, because potato salad, yeah, Zach Danger Brown, he put up on a Kickstarter, hey, I want to make potato salad. I need $10, right? He made $55,492 to make that bowl of potato salad. Now, I'll tell you, the economists are freaking out. They're like, oh my God, this is in the New York Times, and they're going, what did he do? How, man, I don't know. Some guy can just get 50 grand. Now, I'll tell you, I've looked on Kickstarter, and I did some research, and I found that a deck of cards will make you an average of $70,000. A deck of cards, it doesn't even have to be good. Now, if you want to get creative, you put Cthulhu on that deck of cards. That deck of cards made $280,000 for a deck of cards. I mean, it was crazy. So we're at this point where we've got just, access. So you can ask 1 million people for $1, right? And then nobody cares, right? It's $1, whatever. Ask me again tomorrow. I'll give you another one. Right? But this guy freaked everybody out. Zach Danger Brown. He planned this. He thought it out. He said, well, everybody Googles potato salad around the 4th of July. They're all looking for recipes. So I'm going to put my Kickstarter out around the 4th of July and say, I want to make potato salad. And sure enough, it worked. I mean, he had made up to $70,000, but then people started going, this is too much. And they got jealous and took some of the money back. But he walked out of that with 50 grand. So we're at this position right now where we could fund each other very easily. We've got this new access to the internet, to electronic money, and we need to use the systems to break free from the systems. And the most important thing is that sense that you are free, because the more your consciousness believes that you are free, the more it'll actually manifest into your reality, and you'll realize this is true. So I really, really push crowdfunding for anything. Like, you got a favorite podcast you listen to, send them $1 a week, just as a tip. It's less than you give your barista, right? And this $1, if you have 6,000 people listening to you, that's 6,000 a week. I mean, who needs that? I wouldn't know what to do with that. But see how easy it is? I mean, and if we start to network together, if we start to realize how simple this is, that we can start to do this. Because we're in a new state of consciousness right now. We're in that concept of quantum dynamics. And this is really where magic lies as well. The idea of minimum input, maximum output. Right? CERN just launched on Easter again. There's a particle in the chamber. It'll be a couple more months before they collide. But then they want to find God, right? But what they're really finding is the true manifesting power of the universe. That's what they want to find. They want to find where this dark matter, where gravity comes from, where all of this mass came into the universe. And this is really the concepts that we're discussing, and the ideas of magic, the very small creating the very large, and minimum input, maximum output. And you all are really the first transhumanists. You don't know it, but you know so much more than everyone else out there, and you know that much, right? You know so much more than anyone else out there. You know, I put this picture up and say it's CERN, and if I were out in the real world, they'd be like, well, what's that, right? But you guys know, and you know so much more. And so you already are taking on new programs and taking new understanding through all of this knowledge, and this makes you actually the first transhumanist. And we like to think of the transhumanists as like evil sorcerers that are in love with robots, weird stuff like that. But, you know, it really is part of the consciousness. It's this idea that we can learn whatever we want to do. We have that ability to go on to, I mean, have you ever tried to learn anything on YouTube? You can learn anything. You can go there and learn how to fix your car or how tortoises do it. You know, it's all there. I mean, it's amazing. So we now have this free access to knowledge that we can, you know, I couldn't build a digital thermometer. Like, how do you make the digits? You know, what makes that LCD? I don't know. But I could go on the internet and I guarantee you I could learn. And I guarantee you I can make a digital thermometer. So that's where we're at now, where we've got this instant access to information and we're able to really manifest change into the realities. So it's up to you, you know, you can work, get married, have kids, pay your taxes, pay your bills, obey the law, right? And repeat after me, do it again, do it again. But the truth is that we are all free. It's just that we don't believe it. And it's this belief that's really causing the problem. And the belief comes through play. Everything is play. And once you start to realize that, once you start to realize that you can play with your life and that you can have more fun with this situation, then that's when things start to change in your reality. Because we are the worst, we are our own worst enemies, you know? We are constantly talking ourselves out of everything. When that opportunity comes, you've got to say yes. Don't think, well, you know, I'm not sure if I can do that, or if I do that, then this is going to happen. Because you don't know. But you know what? If you think that, that will happen. So you really got to check your brain all the time and say, yeah, I'll do that. Why not? Right? And you never know what exactly that's going to guide you to. So Twain, he tells us work and play are words for the same thing under differing conditions, right? I mean, it's true. It used to be more so that our work was play. And really, to be honest with you, I'd rather be the serf than the king. But of course, George Bernard Shaw tells us we don't stop playing because we grow old because we stop playing. I would ask you to guess how old I am. I'm a lot older than you think. So the master of the art of living makes little distinction between work and play. The labor and leisure, the mind and the body, education is recreation. The love and the religion, it's all play. And you just simply pursue the vision of excellence. Like you want to, you know, I know everybody wants to be the best that they can be and to create. And a lot of times that's another big problem because as you start to create, you think you're not good enough or you make mistakes and you won't learn because you don't want to walk through your mistakes. And this is another big block in our way. But so, you know, Lao Tzu will show us that you pursue your vision of excellence and you leave others to decide whether this is work or play. I haven't decided. I don't know. I'm having fun. So in our situation, the only way to deal with an unfree world is to become so absolutely free that your very existence is an act of rebellion. Yeah. So feel free to play with it. Feel free to go out there and make a fool of yourself. Because the fool encompasses everything, and he's the one that can tell the king to take it up the rear. But never forget, friendship is magic, right? Because this is the critical ingredient. I've taken people with me on the road, and we've traveled around, and if you're not able to be someone's friend, then you're not going to make it. And we find that the tribe that you will form will self-moderate so that in self-regulation inside of the tribe, because if you're a jerk, everybody's going to shun you. and you could run around saying everybody's jerks and not realize that you're actually the jerk. But the community will let you know, right? And you'll get shunned, you'll get put out, you'll be yelled at or talked to or loved or whatever it takes to bring you back. But we are self-regulating. We don't need these cops, these thugs, these nothing. We are all that. We are all the police we need. And we can handle it. So the biggest question, we're mature enough now to be playful. You see? You got to be able to get to that point where you feel secure in your placement and your playfulness. So the biggest question that we can ask for the next, until things change, is what can I do to help? You ask that question of all the people that you come across. You ask that question of the people that you just met or that you ran into, and it's going to guide you to a new paradigm that's cosmic. It's going to guide you to a place where people are there to lift you into your next paradigm and help you go forward to whatever it is that your soul's potential is there waiting. So it's up to you to give. You give the gift of receiving. That's one way. So you can't be ashamed of receiving. That's another trick they've used against us. You can't believe you don't deserve it, and you should know that it's okay to want it. And so when you ask the others around you, what can I do to help? This opens doors to all kinds of things when they're going to be wanting to ask you, what can I do to help you? And we are all the angelic forces. We are the messengers of God. Every miracle that has ever existed or happened to me in my entire life has been from one of you. Nowhere else. Not some manifested, crazy hand of God coming down. No. It was a beloved, loving, nurturing, kind, caring human that wanted to help me and share in my experience. So I want to thank you all for sharing in my experience and for being who you are, because you are changing the cosmos right now.